Hi, hello, my name is Eric, not real Eric, and in this video I'm going to show off what I once thought was impossible. I'm going to show off how to use the Game Boy Advance system as a controller on the Nintendo Switch 2. Now I consider myself a pretty big Nintendo fan, and even then I had no idea that this was ever possible up until recently. So we want to give shoutouts and thank yous to YouTube user Oscar Ruiz 92 who commented in my 40 years of Nintendo controllers on a Switch 2 video sharing this tidbit. Because of their comment, it set me on a chase of information where I found a Reddit post exploring this possibility even further. Thanks to r/Kalen114, all we need to do is insert a game into the Gameboy Player, plug it into the GBA, wait for that logo and blink screen to appear, the controller mode, then unplug it while the GBA is still on and plug it into the official GameCube adapter for Nintendo Switch. Don't have a Game Boy Player? Well, you're in luck. You could use a modded Wii or modded GameCube as well. Of course, none of this at all would be possible without the Game Boy Advance. In this video, I'm going to be showing off the original Game Boy Advance model and the pristine Game Boy Advance SP models as controllers on the Nintendo Switch 2. Of course, this is only possible through some adapters. We'll be needing the GameCube Game Boy Advance link cable. This third-party one is from 20 plus years ago, so I'm sure that the modern third-party alternatives found on Amazon would work too. For our second adapter, we actually have some options. Our first option is the 8-bit Do G-Bros adapter and the official GameCube controller adapter for Nintendo Switch. Both of these adapters house GameCube ports, which are going to make it compatible with our GameCube Game Boy Advance link cable. The G-Bros adapter and third-party alternatives of the official GameCube adapter are available for purchase on Amazon. Because I don't own a Game Boy Player, I'm going to go with the Nintendo Wii on this one because with the Wii selling 100 million units, I figured it'd be a lot easier to track down for something like this. Go ahead and download the files for Enhanced mGBA from the GC Forever website and copy its contents onto your modded Wii's SD card, then return back to your modded Wii. Go ahead and boot up the Homebrew channel and then find Enhanced mGBA. Go ahead and boot up a Game Boy Advance backup that you own and backed up on the Enhanced mGBA directory and launch it. Access the Enhanced GBA menu by pressing the Home button and go ahead and go into Configure and turn on the Game Boy Player toggle. Now take your Game Boy Advance and connect it to the link cable and plug it into the Player 2 port of the Wii. Turn on your GBA and wait for that logo to appear and then disappear. I may be wrong, but on original hardware, it seems that the Game Boy Player logo will appear and does not go away while in its controller mode.
There we go.
For us, however, the logo went away, indicating it's in controller mode. Now, we can disconnect it from the Nintendo Wii and connect it to some of our GameCube compatible adapters. Here's where it can get confusing. With the G-Bros adapter on the top, the Game Boy Advance's shoulder buttons will correspond to ZR and ZL. With the official adapter, the Game Boy Advance's shoulder buttons correspond to just R and L. The Start and Select button on the original GBA model does not register, but it does on the SP, registering as the plus button and the R/ZR. A lot of people were introduced to 2D Mario through the Super Mario Advance line of games on the Game Boy Advance. So, to be playing the latest 2D Mario outing with that same system as a controller is a bit surreal, I must say.
That Goomba looks so surreal. Well then.
And you probably guessed it, playing classic Game Boy games through NSO with this configuration feels incredibly satisfying. One advantage the G-Bros adapter has is that it can be remapped in the Nintendo Switch 2 system remapping function that makes games like Mario vs. Donkey Kong on Nintendo Switch play like the original on Game Boy Advance. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is probably going to be the best showcase of this whole Game Boy Advance project. Mario Kart 8 allows you to move your character with the D-pad, so the fact that I can go neck and neck with this evil Eric across the world and end up defeating them makes me very proud of this whole setup. These last few showcases are of Game Boy Advance games that I poured countless hours on my Game Boy Advance SP, so the fact that I could use it as a controller to relive these experiences is just something special. I will never forget how this is actually the first and only video game my grandma purchased for me, and I will always associate her with this game because of which. The definitive version of one of the best games of all time. That is truthfully how I feel about this version of Super Mario Bros. 3. Everything in it, I think, is perfect. This is the game that I got with my Game Boy Advance for Christmas. And even though our next game is a remake of my favorite game of all time, I do not think that it improves on the original like this game does. You take my favorite game of all time and make it portable? Of course I'm going to be interested and want to buy that. Playing Super Mario World on the go is a great experience. And while I don't think it's as strong as a Super Nintendo original, I still think this is a phenomenal experience. You're taking some of the tightest platforming ever made in gaming on the go on a Game Boy Advance with very little compromise in the experience. This is still a great title to have. And there we have it. In this video, we showed the complexities of how to get the Game Boy Advance system as a controller on the Nintendo Switch 2. I love this handheld system, so the fact that I was able to use it as a controller on a system in 2025 is a wonderful, hilariously fun novelty. But that's going to be all from me today. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Eric, not Real Eric. Stay real, stay safe, stay you. Follow me on Twitch and Twitter, and we'll catch you in the next one.